The morning fog clung to Cambridge's cobblestones like a guilty secret, curling around lampposts and trailing across narrow alleys. Evangeline Thornfield adjusted her father's oversized waistcoat and pulled her cap lower over her cropped auburn hair. 3 months of this charade, and her heart still hammered against her bound chest every time she approached the university gates. Every glance from a fellow student, every murmur of male laughter sent a shiver of both fear and excitement through her. "Morning, Eddie," called Thomas Whitmore, falling into step beside her. His easy smile had become a dangerous sort of temptation, making her stomach flutter in ways that had nothing to do with fear of discovery. Ready for Professor Hartwell's lecture on plant reproduction. Heat crept up her neck. If only Thomas knew he was discussing botanical intimacy with a woman who found his presence far more stimulating than any lecture could. Indeed, she managed in her practiced lower register. "Though I suspect the professor will make it as dry as pressed flowers." Thomas laughed. That rich, unself-conscious sound that haunted her dreams. "You always have the wittiest observations, Eddie." His hand brushed hers as they walked, sending electricity through her gloved fingers. "I was wondering, would you care to join me for tea this afternoon? There's something important I'd like to discuss." Evangeline's pulse quickened. Thomas had been increasingly attentive these past weeks, lingering after lectures, seeking her opinions with an intimacy that felt dangerously personal. "I'd be honored," she replied, questioning her sanity the moment the words left her lips. The lecture hall buzzed with masculine voices as they took their seats. Evangeline had chosen her disguise carefully. Edward Ashford, a scholarly young man from the countryside, complete with a sick mother who required his correspondence. She hid behind the facade with skill, yet every heartbeat threatened to betray her. Professor Hartwell droned on about pistils and stamens, while Evangeline sketched detailed anatomical drawings. Her passion for botanical science burned brighter than her fear, driving her to take risks that would have horrified her conventional mother. The thrill of forbidden knowledge, the power of being seen as a scholar, pushed her hand across the paper with meticulous devotion. "Remarkable detail," whispered a voice behind her. She turned to see James Blackwood, Thomas's friend, peering at her work with calculating eyes. "Where did you study drawing before Cambridge?" "Privately," she murmured, closing her notebook. Something in Blackwood's gaze made her skin crawl, a cold, predatory gleam that set her teeth on edge. That afternoon, Evangeline sat across from Thomas in the Rose and Crown, a warm tavern tucked into the winding streets. Nursing a pint she couldn't properly drink without compromising her disguise. Candlelight reflected in his blue eyes like stars, and she felt herself lost in their depth. "Eddie," he began, running his fingers through his dark hair nervously. "We've known each other for months now, and I find myself—" He took a deep breath. "I've never felt this way about anyone before." Evangeline's heart stopped. This was exactly what she'd feared and desperately wanted. "Thomas, please, let me finish." His voice dropped to an intimate whisper. "I'm completely captivated by you. Your brilliant mind, your passion for science." He reached across the table, covering her gloved hand. "I think I'm falling in love with you." The world tilted. Evangeline stared at their joined hands. How could she tell him his feelings weren't wrong, just misdirected? That her heart was his to claim, but only if he loved the person beneath the disguise. "I know it's complicated," Thomas rushed on, misinterpreting her silence. "Society would never accept us, but I don't care. I care about you, Eddie, about us." Before she could respond, Blackwood appeared like a dark specter. "How touching," he drawled. "Though I wonder, Whitmore, if you know exactly who you're declaring your love to." Thomas frowned. "What are you talking about?" Blackwood's smile was razor-sharp. "Ask your beloved Eddie about the lack of whiskers, the delicate hands, the voice that sometimes rises to an almost feminine pitch. I've been watching you, following you, going into the women's boarding house every evening. Miss Evangeline Thornfield, the botanist whose orchid research rivals any man's." Thomas went rigid to Evangeline. The name hung in the air like smoke. Evangeline felt her carefully constructed world crumble. "I can explain," she whispered. "Can you?" Thomas's voice was barely audible. "Why have you been lying to me for months, making me feel like a deviant for falling in love with what I thought was another man?" The hurt in his eyes cut deeper than any scandal. "Thomas, please. Did you enjoy watching me torture myself?" Evangeline stood abruptly. "I have to go." She fled the tavern, ignoring Thomas's calls. The evening air bit at her tear-stained cheeks as she ran through Cambridge's winding streets. Each shadow seemed to mock her, each whisper of fog a reminder of the precarious line she had walked. Back in her tiny rented room, Evangeline collapsed onto her bed, still wearing her father's clothes. The weight of her deception pressed down on her chest like a physical thing. A soft knock at her door made her heart race. "Evangeline, please, I need to understand." She opened the door. Thomas stood in the narrow hallway, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "May I come in?" She nodded. He entered, taking in the sketches covering the walls and the pressed flowers scattered across her desk. "How long?" he asked quietly. "Since the beginning of term. No university would accept a woman no matter how qualified. So you became Edward Ashford. It was the only way. I've loved botanical science since childhood. My father encouraged it, but my mother wanted me to marry well and forget about flowers." Thomas studied her drawings. These are extraordinary. Your work could revolutionize cultivation techniques. You're not angry anymore. I'm furious. But not at you, at a world that forces brilliant women to hide their gifts. He stepped closer. What I felt for Eddie, it was real, wasn't it? More real than anything I've ever experienced. Then it doesn't matter what name you use or what clothes you wear. I fell in love with your mind, your passion, your beautiful way of seeing the world. That person is you. He reached for her hand. I love you, Evangeline, not the lie, not the performance you. But Blackwood, he'll expose me. I'll be ruined. Thomas's jaw tightened. Blackwood won't be a problem. I have a proposal. What kind of proposal? Marry me, not as Edward and Thomas, but as Evangeline and Thomas. We'll leave Cambridge, travel where women scientists are more accepted. Your work deserves to be published under your real name. Evangeline stared, hope and fear warring. You would give up your studies here. I'd give up everything for you. That's what love is, choosing someone's dreams as your own. She leaned into his touch, finally allowing herself to believe. Yes, she whispered. Yes to everything. When Thomas kissed her, all the careful distance of their months elapsed. She was no longer Edward Ashford, she was Evangeline Thornfield, botanist and woman in love.